But the Davis Mills extension, so broke really early, about 6:45 this morning. Diana Rossini, I think, was the first one on it, which is no surprise. And, you know, it just kind of shocked me. It did. I really thought Mills would wait to get to the open market next year to kind of see what his value is going to look at. He was scheduled to be a free agent before this extension. He was scheduled to be a free agent in 2025. It was going to be kind of the draft class is not, it's early. Things can change between now and the draft, as we know, and teams will fall in love with some quarterbacks. But, I don't know how good the draft class is for the quarterbacks. I know early sentiments are not that favorable. There's really, beyond Dak Prescott, there's really not any like top tier or big name quarterbacks that are going to hit free agency next year. So just kind of, you put all those things together, and it just kind of surprised me. I'm not saying that Davis Mills would have been a sought after free agent for a starting quarterback role, but I think that he probably could have seen a decent market, upwards of $7 or $8 million a year. Now, he did sign for 1 year, reportedly $5 million per year. We don't know if that is the up to number. Maybe it's 4.5 plus some incentives. Who knows? What? Just wait. Probably won't get details on that until probably Friday or Monday next week. But, I really thought that he could kind of get into that 7 to 8 million APY area. So that was pretty much why I was kind of shocked at this point, right? I didn't know. I just didn't expect it. And it was an interesting play because, as we've seen, Nick Caserio and company has no problems doing, whether it's in-season extensions, early in free agency, summertime, training camp, all the way up to day before or the week of the regular season kicking off. And, from Davis Mills' perspective, and Landry had a good, quick hit with Davis in the locker room today. So go to Landry's X profile. I think he's got the video there. And what it's pretty much what I would envision he would say. They looked at the market, like at least his agent. They kind of looked at the market and make a decision whether or not we're going to stay here or we're going to wait to see what our open market value is going to be. It kind of like the baseline. The baseline floor is you have Joe Flacco, who's 39 years old, $4.5 million per year. Andy Dalton, who's 36, $5 million a year. Drew Lock, 28, which I think Davis is 27 right now. He signed for $5 million a year. Jared Stidham, 27, $5 million a year. Marcus Mariota, 31, $6 million a year. Tyrod Taylor, 35 years old, $6 million a year. And then you get up into Jacoby Brissett at $8 million and Sam Darnold at 10. I think 5 is probably the floor, and that's where I have no problem with him doing the extension. Don't get me wrong. I just think it just is interesting. Why take it now versus potentially getting $7 or $8 million a year on a 2-year deal next year? Whether it's with Houston, maybe he goes out and sees the market. Maybe Houston creates an offer, go see the market, come back, let us know, or he signs elsewhere. Just as a hypothetical. But he's staying with $5 million here, and so not just that gives my curiosity of why. Why do that? And I'm sure he's got plenty of valid reasons, and I think there's plenty to it. I mean, I think there's going to be a decent size free agency class that are in that backup quarterback type role, fringe players that had high draft stock, things like that. The Zach Wilsons, Trey Lance, Justin Fields, Mac Jones are all scheduled to be free agents next year, and so that would kind of drum up some of that upper level backup quarterback money in that $7 or $8 million range. So maybe that kind of depresses Davis's value. It just kind of sees. There's going to be very limited starting options next year, or availability at starting quarterback roles. We don't know what's going to happen with the New York Jets and Aaron Rodgers next year. Pittsburgh is in a mess right now, both having Justin Fields and Russell Wilson going to be free agents after this year. Las Vegas Raiders, they have Minshew there, but really don't know what their prospects are going to be next year. New York Giants, kind of a mess once they try to get out of the Daniel Jones situation. New Orleans Saints, they drafted Spencer Rattler, 5th rounder, but is Derek Carr going to be there next year? And Seattle Seahawks, is Geno Smith going to be there? And beyond that, there's really everything else is pretty well locked up. So, you kind of start looking at all those things as I'm just kind of looking at it from Davis' perspective now, right? Why re-sign with Houston? Well, these are why. The free agency, the available starting options are going to be pretty limited. There's a pretty sizable group of quarterbacks that were all drafted higher than Davis Mills, and unfortunately, draft stock plays a role in market value and free agency. It just is. It does. That's the way the world works in the NFL. But you start looking at all those things, and then maybe he likes it living in Houston, outside of football, away from everything else. Maybe he enjoys being here in Houston. It's a great town, a lot of cultural diversity here, fantastic food. Maybe he loves D'Amico Ryans. Maybe he loves the McNairs. Maybe he loves the way this organization is run, the culture behind this organization. And then at the end of the day, he probably identifies that Houston is on a hard run for the Super Bowl now and next year and the year after that, before some of the big contracts start coming in down the line. And so maybe Davis sees this and says, hey, I want to be a part of this. I want to help this team get to that championship level. And I'll do it whatever role that is, whether it's back up to CJ Stroud, or if, God forbid, CJ gets hurt, I got to step in and play. You put all those things together, then $5 million for 1-year extension. Maybe it just becomes like a perpetual kind of thing. We've seen that with Nick Caserio in the past. Sign a 1-year extension. We'll reevaluate, say 12 months from now, after training camp and into the preseason next year. Maybe they want to do another 1-year extension, and maybe he just can take another look at the market. Maybe he has more playing time this year. Maybe he doesn't play at all. Who knows? But if you look at it from that perspective, then it kind of makes sense for Davis to make that kind of move. So I see it from his perspective. I just was surprised at the number. Like I said, I sometimes I fire stuff off from the hip. I was kind of surprised at the number. The number makes sense on a lot of levels. I just thought there was a little bit of money left on the table, and that's just my perspective on things. It's not saying it's right or wrong. I'm not saying Davis made a bad decision. I think he made a great decision for himself. I'm never going to accuse a player of turning down money or not getting what's theirs. We know NFL life is very, very short, and when you have the opportunity to get your money, then you get it. Gosh darn it. So, but I also kind of want to look at it from the Texans' perspective and make sure if you got any questions, comments, throw them up on the board. I'll kind of answer what I can. If you got any, questions, throw them up there. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Helps me out. Make sure you subscribe to the newsletter, capandtrade.football. But looking at it from the Texans' perspective, this is a great deal for Houston. They're going to look at it as a 2-year deal at $4.06 million APY. That's how the team's going to look at it. The $5 million, the 1 year $5 million is new money. So Davis is scheduled, I think, to earn like $3.116 million this year. He got a raise for the proven performance escalator that's part of rookie contracts in the last year. So add on the $5 million on top of the 3.1 that he's scheduled to earn this year, 8.1 divided by 2, 4.06. That's the paper value or effective value. There's a lot of different coin terms for it, but that's how the team's going to look at it. Is now we have an established quarterback who has plenty of starts, knows the system, stays healthy, right? I mean, he's been very healthy. I feel the team probably feels comfortable with Mills if he needs to take over the reins for short stints of time. Mills has been a consummate professional. Does his job, goes to work. It's a pretty quiet individual, it seems like, for the most part, from what I see from the outside looking in. But I think you just put all those things together. Knows the system, healthy, does his job. Very good, effective paper value of $4.06 million on APY on a 2-year deal. I think all those things together are that's great for Houston. And they would have no qualms about doing that again, I'm sure, come next year. Now, the team doesn't have to worry about looking in for another backup quarterback next year. They don't have to dig into the draft on day 2 to maybe, trying to draft another quote unquote Davis Mills, who was drafted in the 3rd round. They could, look on day 4 for an athletic project kind of guy, thing like that, something like that. So it kind of takes that off the table for them, takes them off the table of having to look into free agency next year. It just pushes everything back a year. And maybe, like I said, you can continue this little game of one year extensions as both parties meet and are happy with it. So we talked about it, just to kind of cap it up. We talked about it from the market perspective, where $5 million of new money. I think it probably could have gotten a little bit more than that on the open market next year. The open market, free agency open market's crazy. Anything can happen. It just takes one team, and then the numbers get a little crazy. So we talked about that. We talked about it from Davis Mills' perspective. Why do this? It's good money. Get it while you can. Probably loves the team, loves the organization, loves the McNairs, loves D'Amico Ryans, loves the quarterback room, loves the coaching staff with Bobby Slowick and Gerard Johnson. You probably loves it, might love living here in Houston. You just add all those things up. It makes sense from Davis Mills' perspective to sign this contract, to sign this extension. And then from the Texans' perspective, it's a good deal all around. We talked about it. It's a very good 2-year paper value, $4 million a year. Pushes that position of any type of need or a review back another year, and just maybe frees up another day 2 draft pick. So it makes sense on a lot of levels. I'm all for it. I'm happy for Davis Mills. Get your money, man, while you can. If you got any questions, comments, we'll get to what we can. Good evening, Larry. Good to see you. Man, that's nothing to do with Coley. I get it. I mean, I get it, because that it's the same thing with Eric Murray, the Eric Murray situation. He's got that Bill O'Brien stench and things like that, but don't worry about it. Davis Mills, he doesn't have the Coley and Lovey stench behind him. It's a Nick Caserio draft pick, and that's Nick Caserio's draft pick. So that's pretty much all I had to cover on Davis Mills. It wasn't any earth-shattering, I'm shocked and crazy and demand to know why. No. I was just shocked. I was surprised. What can I say? I'm a shocked kind of guy. Go right back into the channel, right back into the production, right back into all of my data sourcing. So any subs that y'all do there that are paid help me make better content for you. So appreciate everybody coming in. Stress, good to see you. I hope you enjoy the the game this week. Doc, good to see you as always. I appreciate it, man. With that, we will call it a night. Everybody have a good evening. Peace.